Hi there, you're in the lab with your mate JJ. So today is Maxitronix Day. If you've been following along, you will know that we recently completed our Maxitronix Sensor Robot 20, which we refer to as our 20-in-1. This guy is done, and what we'll be doing today is introducing the Maxitronix 30in1. So this is 30 electronics projects to do, the 30-in-1. Today we'll be taking the lab kit out of the box, having a look at the manual, and just scoping what it is that we'll be doing together over the next couple of months, as we do one project per video, or one video per project, however you'd like to cut it. So this is the Maxitronix Electronic Lab. It's the 30-in-1, safe, educational and fun, with solderless connections. Easy to read, illustrated lab style manual included. Learn and build 30 exciting electronic experiments. So we're going to take this thing over to the bench here. We'll pop it out of its box and see what's arrived. Then we'll flip through the manual so we know what we're doing. And that will conclude this video. In the future, we'll do the first project. So we won't be doing the first project today. We'll just be having a look at what's in the thing so that we know what's ahead of us. So let's pop over to the bench and have a look at what's in the box. Here on the bench. So this is our 30-in-1, there's a bit of glare there. Down the bottom it says, these bullet points, I didn't read those out yet. It says, a great introduction to the world of advanced electronics. Learn and build 30 exciting electronic experiments safely and easily. Everything you need to build a radio, burglar alarm, water detector, Morse code practice circuit, simple computer circuits, and much more. There we go. So let's see what's in the box. Alright. Well, this is the owner's manual. It's A2 size, is it? Or I'm not sure. Anyway, it's not a big manual like the 20-in-1. This is a smaller size. So we'll be looking at this soon. The material there on the front of the manual is the same as what was on the front of the box. So, what have we got here? Oh, there we go. We've got a nice little stapled bag for our wire and our headphone. That's very good. And they've put the lab itself in a plastic sleeve. Very good. Let's figure out how to open this. Slide comes over here. There we go. So, here it is, the Maxitronix Electronic Lab 30-in-1. Okay, so what have we got on the board? We've got antenna, tuning capacitor, that looks like a germanium diode, an LED. We've got 2 NPN transistors. We've got a transformer. We've got 2 1.5 volt batteries. We've got 5 resistors. We've got 4 capacitors and a key. Excellent. On the back is a battery compartment, so we can power this thing off batteries. Fair enough. So there's not much more to tell you about that. So the next thing that I want to do... How annoying, I just realized that I had the camera all skew with. I'm sorry about that. I'm not going to go and re-record this introduction though, so we'll just keep on keeping on. I fixed the camera now, so that'll be better when we go through the lab notebook, which is what we're about to do now. So we've taken a look at the hardware. So up next Or I suppose we might as well pop these guys out of their bag. Man, this is tricky. Alright. So it's just a fresh set of wire for the project lab. Very good. Looks like we're not going to need very much wire at all. Excellent. So I'll put that over on the bench. Sorry, that's in the, call it the booth over there. That's my booth. So called because I use it as a photo booth when I'm making photos for eBay. Now, this is the electronics, the manual. So we're going to have a read through the introductory material. Then we're going to flip through the projects. We're going to have a look at the whole thing. This is everything that's coming up. In the near future. We'll be doing each project separately, but today we'll have a look at everything. So, without more chit chat, congratulations, we think you made a great choice with Maxitronix Lab 30in1 Electronic Project Lab. This kit is almost like instant electronics because you can begin building your first project right now, whether you know anything about electronics or not. Don't believe us? You will in a few minutes. Before we begin, make sure you have 2 AA batteries. Almost every project will use them. Place the batteries in the battery holder underneath and check to see that the positive and negative markings on the batteries match the ones on the holder. Don't ever leave the batteries in the holder when you are not using your kit. Even leak-proof batteries can leak and damage the parts of the kit. Now let's get started. The 30in1 kit consists of a board covered with electronic parts and an assortment of wires you'll use to connect those parts. There are several different colors and lengths of wire. In addition to the electronic parts on the board, you'll see some shiny silver springs with numbers next to them. These springs and numbers are the keys to starting right now. We simply tell you which ones to connect for each of the 30 projects. The first connection for your first project will be from 23 to 17. Locate these 2 springs and choose a wire long enough to reach them. Attach the wire, just bend the spring to one side with your finger and stick the wire into one of the gaps that you see. Now let the spring go and it will clamp the wire firmly in place. After you have connected 23 and 17, make sure the spring is touching the metal part of the wire and not the plastic insulation. The projects won't work if the metal part of the wire isn't touching the spring. The next connection is from 17 to 39. You'll find that when you have 2 connections to the same thing, like at 17, it is easier if you make them on opposite sides of the spring. Now connect 24 to 14, 25 to 28, 29 to 37, 37 to 15, 32 to 22, 22 to 13, 13 to 19. Hang in there, you'll be listening to your creation very soon. 33 to 43, 12 to 42, 42 to 38, 16 to 18, and 36 to 20. The last connection will be for the earphone. One wire of the earphone goes to 18 and the other to 20. Finished at last. Put the earphone in your ear and press the key on the circuit board. Circuit is a fancy word for the wiring you just did. Hold it down for about 5 seconds. You should hear a high-pitched sound. If you don't, check your connections. There were lots of wires. When you hear the sound, begin to press the key and release the key about once a second. Does that sound familiar? Like maybe a siren or one of those electronic games you like to play? You can experiment with different speeds of pressing the key and, hey, wait a minute, you're playing with your first electronic circuit that you have put together. We told you so. Okay, that's all good fun. So that looks like the first project. And that's what we'll do. We'll do this project when we're ready to do our first project, which will be coming up in the not too distant future on the channel. So all right, let's just read along and just, are we going to read along? Yeah, we'll read along for a bit. Yeah, okay. 29 to go. Now that you're a veteran, we'll be giving you the wiring for the other 29 projects in a slightly different way, like this. Okay, so they're going to give us different format of instructions for the wiring diagram. That's good. This is called the wiring sequence. It is important to make the connections in the order they are given to prevent damage to any of the electronic parts. If you follow the wiring sequence above, you will see that it is the circuit you just built. Okay, so this is the same circuit. Cool. You can build, play with, and enjoy every circuit in this kit by just following the wiring instructions, but we hope, in fact we're almost sure, that you'll get a little curious about how they work. However, if you're not the curious type, just skip the next section of the manual. Well, I think we're curious types around here, aren't we? I'm just going to go and get myself a coffee. Turns out I already had one, or most of one. It was just on the other table. Okay, more about the circuit board. You've probably already noticed the different kinds of parts on the circuit board, so now we're going to tell you something about what each one can do. Resistors. Resistors are the brown tubular objects with colored bands around them. They are called resistors because they resist the flow of electricity through them. The amount of stretch a resistor has, sorry, that's not stretch, that's strength. The amount of strength a resistor has to resist the electricity is measured in units called ohms. Each of the 5 resistors in your kit has its strength in ohms listed underneath it. The K after some of the numbers stands for thousands, so the strongest resistor in the kit has 470 K, or 470,000 ohms of resistance. Capacitors. Capacitors store and release electricity as a circuit needs it. Their ability to store electricity is measured in units called farads, but since a farad is a very large amount, most capacitors are rated in microfarads. A microfarad is 1/1,000,000th of a farad. You can have two different kinds of capacitors in your kit, and we'll talk about the differences later. The capacitors in this kit are all rated in microfarads. Diode. Diodes do one simple thing. They allow electricity to flow through them in only one direction. You'll see proof of this later. LED. Look at the circuit board and count the diodes that you see. If you just counted one, look again, because LED stands for light emitting diode. The LED does the same thing as any other diode, except that it gives off light when electricity passes through it in the right direction. LEDs last longer and use electricity than regular light bulbs. Transistors. Transistors have 3 connections instead of 2 like the other parts you have seen. You'll see why this is important later. In your kit, transistors act either as switches to turn things on and off, or as amplifiers to make things louder or brighter. Antenna coil. The antenna coil is used to send and receive radio signals. That's right. You will be making a radio and some other wireless projects with your kit. The antenna consists of a coil of wire wrapped around a ferrite, a special form of powdered iron, core. It's a ferrite core, it's a special form of powdered iron. Tuning knob. The tuning knob is actually a variable capacitor. It will be used to tune radio signals. Transformer. The transformer is a coil of wire around a plastic core. It can help different parts of a circuit to get along and work more efficiently. Key. The key is a switch that completes a path for the electricity to flow through when it is pressed. Earphone. The earphone is a device that turns electrical information into sound for you to hear. It can also turn sound into electricity, as you will see in several of the projects. Batteries. Of course, you know what batteries are. They will be the power source for most of your circuits. We included them in this section because of the symbol next to the illustration. In fact, you may have noticed a symbol next to each one of the components parts. These will be very important to you later, so don't forget about them. And obviously they're talking about the various capacitor symbols that have been shown next to all of the things. And here's what we've been waiting for. Here is a list of experiments which can be performed with this 30in1 Electronic Projects Lab. So we already did the first project. Well, they mentioned how to do the first project in the instructions. We'll be doing that later when we do our first project. And then we'll be doing the other 30, starting here with circuit number 2. So I'm just going to read out the list here, and then we'll flick through and we'll see if there's any back matter, and then we'll conclude this introductory video. So here's a list of the experiments which can be performed with this 30in1 Electronics Project Lab. Circuit 2, the electronic storage tank. Circuit 3, the one-way street. I won't call out the circuit numbers, I'll just call out the names. The invisible power radio, the transistor and electronic trigger, the transistor and amplification, the sunrise sunset light, the slow motion sunrise sunset light, the secret code key, the highs and lows of oscillation, the beacon light, music from a pencil, the leaky faucet, the bee, the electronic canary, the burglar alarm, the touching light, the rain detector, the radio station, the wireless rain detector, the metal detector, blowing on a candle, the blinker, the 2-transistor oscillator, the timer, the memory, the AND gate, the OR gate, the NAND gate, the NOR gate. Cool. So those last gate projects, those are logical gates, AND, OR, NAND, NOR. So that's interesting that we're going to build a logic gate. That's cool. We must be building it out of transistors because they're the only things that are really available, and the diode, I suppose. So this is circuit number 2, and off we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. And then we go, what's next? So, now that you have built all the circuits in this kit, there are several different things you can do next. You may want to build them all again, or maybe just the ones you thought were really special. If there were some circuits you would like to make permanent models of, you can buy the extra parts, resistors, capacitors, LEDs, etc. that you need at your local Radio Shack store. If you want to learn more about electronics in kit form before you strike out on your own, the Radio Shack 200-in-1 Electronics Lab is super. Radio Shack also has some great books about electronics, like Engineer's Notebook and Understanding Solid-State Electronics. Also, there are many good books about electronics at your school or public library. Whether you plan to continue electronics as a hobby or make it a career, we hope you have fun. By the way, here is the schematic for the first circuit you built, the siren. When you built it, we bet it seemed pretty complicated, but now, with a little experimenting, you can probably figure it out in no time. Okay, so this is the schematic for the first project. That's good to know. I'll make sure we include that in the notes when I do the first project, which will be coming up soon. And here's a formal parts list. Okay, we've got the antenna coil with 5 leads, the antenna holder, the bar antenna. Okay, that must be the ferrite core, I guess. Battery contact, W size, battery contacts, S size, battery holder, capacitors, 0.0022 microfarad, ceramic disc, 0.022 UF, ceramic disc, 10 microfarad, 16 volt electrolytic, 100 microfarad, 10 volt electrolytic. The diode is a 1N60 germanium diode. The earphone is a high impedance crystal type. There's 2 plastic frames. There's a key lever. There's a knob for the key. There's a knob for variable capacitor tuning. There's an LED. That's SR503 or LT4203 red. There's a nut, which is 3 millimeters, 5 of them. There's a paper panel. Okay, it's actually cardboard, isn't it? Resistors, 680 ohm, 5.1 kilo ohm, 10 kilo ohm, 100 kilo ohm, and 470 kilo ohm. Bunch of screws, some spring terminals, 43 spring terminals. There's a transformer. Doesn't tell us any specs about that transformer. The transistor is a 2SC945 or 2SC828 NPN silicon transistor. There's a variable capacitor, 265 picofarads, and the wires are white, red, blue, and green. And then there's some space for notes, and then there's the back matter. The experiments in this kit are designed to comply with FCC rules as long as you follow the instructions and use only the components and materials supplied with this kit. And then these guys have an old address in Taipei, Taiwan, but I have checked and it's all offline. It's all gone now. So this was from back in 2001. It was about 24 years ago. So that's everything that was in the box and everything that was in the manual. So I'll throw you over to the farewell cam and we'll wrap up. That's a wrap. So yeah, 30in1 looks good, ready to go. So over the next couple of months we'll be doing the 30 projects that we just listed in the book. Obviously the format of the project is usually going through the instructions together. I've scanned the instructions, so I'll have them available on the computer. We'll have a read of the instructions, then we pop over to the booth to do the assembly, and then we bring the circuit over to the bench here and we have a look at how it behaves. We use the thermostat to see what gets hot. Oh sorry, yeah, that's not a thermostat, that's a thermal imager. So we have a look at the heat profile. We've got our oscilloscope on standby if we want to investigate any signals. We've got a bunch of multimeters and such to test various signals and voltage levels and this sort of thing. So that concludes the introduction to the Maxitronix 30in1. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks very much for watching, and please remember to hit like and subscribe.